Hello and welcome to Stir Crazy Arts Classes with Gerald Savine, lesson number 16, project number 5. We're hopefully finishing off today the painting we started showing the Malvern Hills and the foreground. Can I just again look at this picture here? I have to say I made a bit of a mistake last time we were doing this, and I referred to the building, the main subject here, as being Birtsmorton Court. Well, in fact, of course, it's not Birtsmorton Court, it's Little Malvern Priory, which is actually originally at the top of the hill and not the bottom of the hill. So now I'm going to get on and continue to get the painting finished. Hopefully, well, you'll see that since last time I've painted in this area here to save time, because we've got quite a bit to do here and the buildings over here. But hopefully you can see how, as we've come further forward, we've put more colour in and more detail, and can you see how by dabbing the colours round you give a nice feeling of the foliage of the trees. And again here I've introduced some burnt sienna and raw sienna to give a variety of colour, and also a little bit of burnt umber to give the effects of the branches in the trees in the background here, and also where you've got the darks here. So, and here we've been bringing in a bit of ultramarine into the green, and also, dare I say, a little bit of Payne's grey. But now we're going to look at doing these and the foreground, or the corn, and the poppies that are there. So to start off with, because we don't want the colours to blend, to go from one to the other, I'm going to paint the lighter colouring of the buildings, and for that I should be using a thin yellow ochre. Again here I'll just get some of that on the brush, and I'll just show you by bringing that down we can get it to be much thinner here, so that it has a brighter feel to it. So again, I'm just doing that to start off with. Now I'm going to transfer this colour onto the painting. So I'm going to paint the front of the building that's catching the light. A little bit more of that, so a bit more colour there. But I'm being careful about this not to get colour onto these parts here. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the buildings over here. I'm going to put some colour onto the buildings. Working quite quickly. Right, so that's again giving us a feeling for that. So I'm leaving that for the moment. I'm now going to use a yellow ochre with more pigment in it. Now be careful here that you don't get your, excuse me, just this. Don't have this too wet. This is the raw pigment straight out of the tube at the moment, and I've got water on the brush. You need to be careful. Now what I'm going to do here is I want to give the feeling more of the corn. So again here I'm going to be painting up. You see how that's coming? So I'm going to work quite quickly on this. And again, you see here where it gets a bit darker, there's more. There's less water in it, in the paint, and more pigment. Again, on this side, it wants to be darker because it's the shadows coming from the sun is coming from the left, and it's making this part into more shadow. Again, just working up and down, just a little bit more water in there, I think, just to soften it down a bit. Again, using the tip of the brush. Now this side, you can see again here, as you can see on there, it's more washed out colour. But again, we can then pull the colour up. But again, we want to be careful not to get too heavy now. So we're working slightly differently here. More water in the pigment. You might notice also I've got a slightly slimmer brush here. I think we're using a number 6, I think. I didn't look at the... But again, can you see that? Because it's in places it can be a little bit darker. But again, I'm going to be careful here because we're going to bring some greenery in, because there's some of the grass has been sneaking in amongst the corn. And so I'm sure that those who've ever walked through the fields, you can quite often see the grass growing in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce some of the green, again to start off with, not too thick, a bit more pigment, so we can get again a bit more colour in there. Can you see how that's coming? Working quite quickly here, 1 or 2 little bits of colouring into there. Just building up. So it's quite casual really, so you don't have to get too worried about it, too fussy. Again, bearing in mind, be patient with yourself. If it doesn't look right the first time, you never know, you might want to have a crack at doing it a second time. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But again, it's helping to teach you how you can use colour, use your brush, which again, when we do other things, I hope that will make life easier for you. I'm bring the colour right down here. Again, in places I'm putting a bit more pigment in. And again, you might see I've noticed that I've been a little bit of greenery down here, and also in this side as well, because of the grass would be popping up. And while I'm at it, while I've got the green, and can you see there's a bit of greenery in there as well? So, you know, where the corn has been cut already. Just going to bring a little splodge of, whoops, that's a bit darker than I wanted it to be, but never mind, we can do something about that. We can pick the colour up on the brush, and we can spread the colour out a little bit. So perhaps a little bit more greenery down there than we intended, but never mind. We'll have individual paintings, so that's the important thing. And again here, a bit more green. See how you can just squiggle your brush up and down with a slightly more colour on your brush. We'll come back to this area later, but here again, you can see little tufts of grass growing up. And just sort of push it up, move it around. Again, there's some thinner green here, so again, just put a bit more in. There's a little bit of colour down there. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit more yellow ochre into the ground here, just a tiddly bit here and there. Give a bit more. Again, that can be tufty bits there as well, because obviously if you walk through a cut field, you know, it's quite a lot of the stalks, as it were, left over from when the harvest has been through. Again, coming through here, and you can then also bring in just a little bit more colour into the tops of the corn that hasn't been cut. A bit more than I did in the original painting, but never mind, that's in a way I think it looks a little bit better. And again here it's quite casual, quite just sort of working the colour around quite quickly. I'm going to work back into this area here. Now I'm going to bring in here, I'm going to bring in some burnt raw sienna, which we were using in here. Again, excuse me, straight out of the tube, and I'm going to also bring in a bit of burnt sienna too, which gives it a slightly more fiery feel. It's a nice, quite a useful colour. So again, it just brings a bit more interest into the painting. And you see, I'm pushing the colour up, and as I push it up, it gets thinner. So like sort of stalks of lengths of corn and as grasses as well. Excuse me. and I'm going to use it also just to give a bit of shadow down the bottom here as well. So again, we've got a bit more colour going on, and you notice also I've got a bit of colour in there as well. So while I'm at it, I'm going to well, there's no longer greenery, but a bit of colouring into that. Just got a few more minutes left. Now I'm going to pick up some burnt umber, which is perhaps a more familiar sort of brown colour, which I'm just going to bring into again here, just give it a little bit more interest in the foreground. Again, bearing in mind that the nearer things are to you, this is again where the perspective comes in, the colour's richer and you can see more detail. We've got about another 5 minutes to go, but, so I need to, unfortunately, going to be quite quick now. I'm going to just thin this down a bit, and a bit thinner than that. Wash the brush out a bit, but just bring in more colour here. Now, what I want to also do, you mess around with it, do a bit more, and again here we're going to be a bit darker, where so a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're going to put a bit of shadow in here coming from the stand of corners over here. So there's a bit of, and again, unfortunately, because of timing, I'm not going to do quite as much as I would like to have done. But again, just mixing the colours up on the pad, as it were, and then pulling those forward. So it just gives a bit of feeling of shadow. If you can pick up on the original painting, hopefully you can see that, again, the bottom here, you can see perhaps a bit better the detail of that. And I want to try and get a little bit of some of the poppies in as well, but let's get a bit more of the rich green here. Can you see how I've used a bit of colour to give a feeling of leaves, because things like the poppies come along and they sort of bring a bit of leaf in mixed in with all the crops. I've got a bit darker, I think, there. But again, that's sort of showing up in various places. But again, you know, just have a bit of fun. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in some cadmium red pale. Now I say really this must be dark, should be darker down here. We'll see how the time goes. I'm just going to have a quick squeeze of this, and again here we can just mixing this into a clean water here, because I use the water here which is clean. We don't want the green and the red waters mixing up, but you see we can go in here, little splodges of colour, bit of shaping. Can you see a bit of this going on? So it gives a feeling of the poppies that are there. So I've just got a minute or two left now, at the most, before we run out of time. So I'm sorry about this. It's okay. So that, I think, will have to be it for now. I hope you can pick up from the original. Oh well, I haven't finished doing that. Oh dear, oh dear. Is that time up now? Sorry, I'm talking to my dear wife here to help me out here. I thought I was running out of time. Whoops, darker there. Oh dear, I'm rushing too much now. And I'm going to do the roofs here in the burnt sienna colour. Sorry that this is now. It's amazing how quickly time goes. And again, the roofs of the buildings in the background over here. It's rather crudely done, I'm afraid. I do apologise. But that's it. I'm afraid time's up. So there we go. But you can take a bit more time and do a little bit more work on it yourself. I'm just going to very, very, very quickly pick up some burnt umber, just to tickle it in here very quickly, give the shadow here, and but please take your time I'm having to rush this a little bit, I'm sorry to say. So it's amazing how quickly time goes. But I think we'll have to call that a day now with that. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, for the next demonstration, I'm going to do the same thing but using pencils. Bearing in mind, hopefully some of you that haven't got paints can actually pick up the drawing, and then from that I'll show you how you can do shading to work on to give a feeling for the picture itself. Okay, so that's all for now. Okay, so bye bye for now, and see you in lesson